Hey, True Seekers, welcome back. Zach here. It's May 25th, 2017. In the National Basketball Association and in the National Hockey League, Game 7s of the Eastern Conference Finals concluded, both in the NBA and NHL. Now the NBA Finals are set, and the Stanley Cup Finals. And what's interesting, in the NBA, the star attraction LeBron James advanced to the championship, and in the NHL, the face of their league, Sidney Crosby, also advanced to the championship. So let's go through this. Let's begin with the Boston Celtics losing to the Cleveland Cavaliers. Then we'll talk about the Pittsburgh Penguins advancing over the Ottawa Senators. At the end of the game, it was just a score fest in the final 5 minutes. I think the two teams combined for 40 points in the final 5 minutes of the game. Anyhow, when the Cavs hit 132 points, they put up this little marker here. Cleveland Cavaliers, most points in a playoff game in franchise history. And that was when they were at 132. What stood out about that to me was, in the language of gematria, United States of America sums to 132, like Catholic Church, also like England. Very special numbers. We talk about them often. You never seen my work on the death of Princess Diana. She died 132 days from the Queen's birthday. Princess Diana equals 132. This is not an arbitrary number. This is one we talk about. Today, May 25th, is also the 145th day of the year. Remember, the word Catholic also sums to 145. In the NFL, we just saw the 145th pick be Jake Butt out of Michigan, just days after the Michigan coach was visiting the Vatican, the Catholic Church, and Pope Francis. And think about sodomy, boys, bottoms, butts. Jake Butt, the 145th pick to the Mile High City. Mile High, also 145 like Catholic. So anyhow, that was interesting. Then the Cavs won with 135, winning by 33 total points. And right away, 135. Talked about this number many times before with regards to Philadelphia. Remember, professional basketball, the first championship won by the Philadelphia Warriors, who are now the Golden State Warriors. Philadelphia, the city, was established October 27th, 1682. You got LeVar Ball, born October 27th. Anyhow, that's a date with 135 numerology. And if you don't know, the name Philadelphia comes from Revelation of the Bible, the 66th book of the Bible. LeBron 66, LeBron James 66. If you write out the key of David, it sums to 135. And if you don't know what the key of David is, just search Revelation, Philadelphia, the key of David. The Bible verse will come up. The key of David is written about in regards to the church of Philadelphia. And understand, everything about this nation's history is biblical. So, LeBron James versus the Warriors for the third year in a row. I'll remind you that the last 3 years I've said that the finals would be Warriors and Cavs. And every single year I always get a bunch of people that say, I'm wrong, there's no way they'll do it again. Yes, there is a way. Remember, it's all about The Godfather, which was a trilogy. So here we go. It's part 3 of the Warriors and Cavs. Today's win, the 33-point win, comes on May 25th, 2017, date with 47 numerology. Remember, Steph Curry and LeBron James, both born in Akron, Ohio, which equals 47, just like Ohio's 47, just like this is the Cavs' 47th season. And again, the Philadelphia Warriors won the first championship in 47. Today's date also has 67 numerology. The word king equals 67. LeBron, nicknamed King James, won the finals last year on the real King James's birthday. King James has a Bible named after him, a 66-book Bible. He was born in the year 1566. So with regards to the Cavs winning by 33, again, NBA Finals equals 33, Cleveland 33, Massachusetts 33. before the playoffs began, I said why I liked Cavs over Celtics and Warriors over Spurs. Back then, I thought the Cavs would close it out in Game 7, but I made the video before today's game saying why today was the perfect day to close out in Boston. Again, if you missed my video from more than a month ago before the playoffs started, I said why Boston was the perfect place for LeBron James to win. Had everything to do with his name and 42. And notice the final score, a sum of 237 points, 2 times 3 times 7, 42. Just like LeBron James, just like Bill Russell, the longtime Celtic who LeBron James is following in the footsteps of. But of course, the 33-point win, LeBron passed Michael tonight. They said it took LeBron 33 more playoff games to set the mark. Michael Jordan had the mark before tonight. Again, LeBron 33, James 33, Michael 33, Bulls 33. Notice the Cavs scored 26 in the fourth quarter. We're going to talk about why that number matters to Jordan in the preview of this game and all throughout the last 3 years I've been doing this. I've talked about 35 and LeBron James. LeBron scored 35 points tonight in 35 minutes of play. And you got to love that he was 4 of 7 from three-point land. The 5 of 8 from free throws also kind of funny. I did see a little bit of the game where he purposefully missed the free throw at the line to make the score 47 points, of course. Also, the Cavs made 48 shots on 85 attempts. Perfect. James equals 48. Cleveland 48. They both also summed to 33. Again, if you're new here, I'll link the Gematrinator calculator down below. This calculator makes life easy. These are your base methods that you want to learn and know. James 33, like LeBron. Did you catch the 48 also? Check it with Cleveland. Cleveland, 33 and 48. Remember we saw Donald Trump have his convention in Cleveland? Donald Trump ended in the White House for the first time in his life November 10th, the same day LeBron James and the Cavs were there to be congratulated for winning the NBA Finals. Then right after that, Donald Trump had his convention in Cleveland. That same November 10th, Thursday Night Football, was the Browns at the Ravens, just outside of Washington, D.C. And again, the Ravens used to be the Browns. The Ravens are the team once Cleveland left their city temporarily. Remember that? And just for another 48, just in case you haven't heard me say this before, Donald Trump ran on building a wall. LeBron James has a hit show about a wall. This year on February 17th, the 48th day of the year, they put out the movie about the wall. Cavs, 48 buckets made out of 85 attempts. Again, basketball equals 85, like Boston, like Fultz, who will likely be the number 1 pick to the Celtics. I also noticed the starters scored 86 points. 86, the first year the name started the NBA Finals. That was the year Len Bias was murdered 213 days after his birthday. And check it out. The NBA Finals equals 213. Len Bias killed that year 213 days after his birthday, after being drafted by the Celtics. He was drafted between the Warriors and Cavs. You know, I showed how last year his death was a ritual for those teams. So, Cavs starters combined for 86 points. I noticed the Celtics also had 86 attempts from the field. Starters only combined for 55. As for LeBron surpassing Jordan, if you were watching the game, they put up this stat. LeBron with 26 points, and they were talking about how he's right on the verge. He's 1 point behind Jordan. 1 to tie, 2 to take the lead. So they put up that stat, and I'm thinking, you know, I've talked about this before. I mean, for all of you who follow my work, you probably knew it. Jordan, 26. Again, he's at the Celtics home. We got 2 26s. Very relevant. Then the next time down the court, what's LeBron do? He hits a long 3 to give him 29. I said before the game, he could finish with 29 tonight, passing Jordan. He needed 28 to pass him, 27 to tie. He passed him with his 29th points, going from 26 to 29 with a big 3. Became the all-time scoring leader. And look at where he did it at. When the score was 103 to 71. Remember last year, the Cavs won Game 7 of the NBA Finals in the real King James's birthday. It was their 103rd game of the season. 103 is the 27th prime number. LeBron finished Game 7 with 27 points, and before the game started, I pointed out how the actor Anton Yelchin had died, and he had birth numerology of 103 and was 27 years old. And I said, no doubt this man, if he's really dead, a ritual sacrifice for the finals. Cavs will be winning it tonight. And then LeBron scored 27. And then 27 days later, Nate Thurmond dropped dead at age 74. And I'd been talking about Nate Thurmond for the last 2 seasons. He was the reason I knew that Cavs and Warriors would be the NBA Finals the first time they met. LeBron James had a symbolic 42-point game on the perfect date. 98 days before the start of the NBA Finals. National Basketball Association 98. Chosen 198. Chosen 98. You know? That game 1 of the finals, went to overtime 98-98, 98 days after the Cavs and Warriors had last played. Also, the score, notice Boston had 71 points. Again, this is the 71st season of the NBA. Celtics equals 71. See if I can spell his name right. No. Oh, I guess that is right. Havlicek for the Celtics had the scoring record that Isaiah Thomas beat this year in the 71st season of the NBA. Remember, the season began on a date with 71 numerology. Game 1, after Game 1, what the scores were that night, I said, there's your signal. It's going to be Cavs Warriors again. Said it after Game 1. You can go back and watch the video. You know, all of these games are scripted to the point, and if you know what to look for, you can get ahead of the curve. With regards to Cavs in 27, notice Cavs in reverse reduction sums to 27. A year ago, when the NBA Finals were going on, we didn't know reverse reduction back then. That's something we've learned since. This is part of the new knowledge. So, symbolic score when LeBron passed Jordan. Also, at the end of the third quarter, LeBron came out at the end of the third quarter. The Cavs were up 109-74. They were up 35 points. Again, King James 35, Celtics also 35. 109 is the 29th prime number. Another number we talk about a lot with the Cavs. So that covers that piece. Again, the face of the NBA has advanced to the championship. Now the face of the NHL, who plays for the Pittsburgh Penguins. Cleveland and Pittsburgh not too far from each other. The Penguins have advanced to the Stanley Cup. They're going to face the Nashville Predators. And I want to show you what's so interesting about this. And yes, I'm wrong here. I thought for sure we were going to see a Canadian team in the Stanley Cup playoffs. I'm telling you right now today, next year, next season, Canada is winning the Stanley Cup. I'm going to show you why I'm wrong. Canada will be winning next year. But here's what happened tonight. Today's date had 67 numerology. Again, the word hockey equals 67, which I forgot to put up here. But hockey, using the alphabetic order, 67. Today's date, 67 numerology, huge hockey game. It was also a date with 47 numerology. NHL equals 47, as well as Ottawa Senators, who lost in this game. Oftentimes, when things really line up for a team, they're the team for the ritual sacrifice, if you will. But 67, the big number. Sidney Crosby, 67. Hockey, 67. The game went to double overtime, 67. And if you don't know Sidney Crosby, his birthday is August 7th. He wears the number 87. He's the face of the National Hockey League, 87. You see? Just like how LeBron, has chosen 1 on his back. A number won't make a difference, but if you write out the word chosen 1, it's also 98, just like chosen. Just like National Basketball Association, 98. So, Sidney Crosby and the Penguins win in double overtime. Fitting for today's date numerology. Again, all of these sports are scripted. This is the Penguins' 49th season. I was really thinking a Canadian team would win because they have not won since '93, the same year the Ottawa Senators joined the NHL. And Canada in Gematria sums to 24. Here we are 24 years later. I was thinking that would be the ritual. They would break it 24 years later. Well, now, I mean, hindsight's a million times percent more accurate, right? What we're looking at now is 24 years of non-Canadian teams winning the Stanley Cup. And again, Canada's 24, Stanley's 93. They haven't won since 93. It looks like what the riddle is there has to be 24 years without Canada winning. I will be so amazed. I mean, I'm already surprised tonight, but I will be so amazed if Canada does not win it next season. So I'd do the homework, and I'd really look at the Canadian teams next year. It very well could be the Ottawa Senators who avenge their Game 7 Eastern Conference Finals loss next year. Perhaps they'll have a better team. But it's going to be Canada. I mean, this is just so long to punk Canada. You know, this is their sport. This is their sport. So I thought they'd do it in 24, but I got to tell you what scared me at the beginning of the game, and I put this on my blog before the game started. They showed this. Pittsburgh is 3-7 all-time record at home in Game 7s, and I said, oh, shit. I said that means if they win tonight, they'll be 4-7 on the date with 47 numerology over the Ottawa Senators, who have the 47 gematria. And I wasn't aware of this until I turned on the game and saw it. But that's exactly what happened. They became 4-7, and they also became 1-7 after losing Game 6 on the road. And think about it, 1-7. Here we are in 2017. So, you know, for anyone who put money on the Ottawa Senators, following my lead, apologies. I know if you follow my work, you win a lot more than you lose. But definitely wrong about a Canadian team this year. I thought for sure they were going to do it. But now we see it. 24 years of nothing. Here was also an interesting story. Somebody called into my radio show last night and talked about this. And this story came out on March 29th, 2017, about this boy who needed a medical procedure, got to have some fanfare with the NHL because of what he's going through. The date of this article was a date with 24 numerology. This boy is a big Canadian or Ottawa Senators fan, you know, Canadian hockey fan. So this article came on a date with 24 numerology. It was also a date with 49 numerology, and this is the Penguins' 49th season. March 29th, the date of this article about the boy who's the Ottawa Senators fan. Ottawa Senators has the gematria of 88. They called him the Butterfly Boy, which has the gematria of 54 connected to the sun. Again, they tell us the sun's 93 million miles away. Canada hasn't won since 93. Here's the story right here. The boy's name has gematria of 67. His name's Jonathan Petrie. Ottawa Senators, the team he cheers for. But just notice, his last name's 67, like hockey. This was an article at the beginning of the Stanley Cup playoffs. His name, gematria, also the same as Stanley Cup playoffs, 74, the reflection of 47. In the article, it mentions 3 teams, which is so interesting. This was from the start of the playoffs. It mentions 3 teams in this article. One is the Ottawa Senators, who we cheered for, who we wanted to win. The other was the Pittsburgh Penguins. Pittsburgh Penguins, Sidney Crosby. Sidney Crosby equals 67, like his name, as we also talked about. Sidney Crosby gave him a jersey, a hockey suit. And then also it mentions how he got to go to the 2016 NHL All-Star Game in Nashville, who is in the Stanley Cup this year, who will now face the Penguins. So, I mean, just think about it. This article written all by the numbers, everything's perfect, and these are the final 3 remaining teams in the NHL. I mean, now Ottawa is eliminated. And it's not a surprise that this story ends up being sad in the end for this little boy who really wanted to see his team win. But at the same time, I mean, maybe you could say, well, at least Sidney Crosby made it, who gave him a nice jersey. But we see this a lot. Story last year about a 106-year-old woman who all she wanted to see was the Warriors win the NBA Finals, and the Warriors lost the NBA Finals in their 106th game of the season in the 106-foot tall Oracle Arena on the 106th Father's Day ever. But all these stories are clues. And, more often than not, with this information, you're going to get the right outcome, but sometimes you can miscalculate, like I did. I was thinking 24th year, got to be Canada's year. But now I see it. I mean, they're going to punk Canada for 24 years. So, pretty sure next year we will see a Canadian team winning. Something else I caught. Once the period ended, ESPN kept up this photo for a while. Then they put this one back up once it was set for overtime to start with number 44 out front. The word overtime equals 44. I wrote a blog post early the morning of the Super Bowl earlier this year. And I said today's date has 44 numerology like the gematria of overtime. I said a lot would line up. We've seen a lot of overtime games this year. There was a record amount of overtime games in a certain week span. I remember covering that last NFL season. But anyway, I wrote about it the morning of the Super Bowl. I said this will likely be the first Super Bowl that goes to overtime. And again, I was talking about how the Patriots were going to win, and it was all about 25. And that was before the 25-point comeback. So that's what I mean. I mean, more often than not, this work, you're ahead of the curve. You can figure out the outcomes before they happen. But sometimes it'll lead you to make a mistake. So wanted to cover both of these Eastern Conference Championship games. None of this is coincidence, NBA and NHL, both 82-game seasons. And both entirely scripted. Until next time, true seekers.